Following a 2-5 start, Steve Nash is out as head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Kendrick Perkins, Bobby Marks, and Brian Windhorst are joining NBA Today now. And Perk, I want to start with you here. What do you make of the timing specifically of this decision out of Brooklyn?
Well, it was too late. I mean, your best player on your team and Kevin Durant asked for Steve Nash to be out in this offseason. And so you let it get to this point, and I know it's early. Now all of a sudden he's out of there, which we all knew that it was going to happen. But it goes to show me one thing and one thing only. Kevin Durant still have the juice. He still have the power, because this doesn't happen if he doesn't put his stamp on there. And we all know he wanted them out, and we know who he wants sitting in that seat. But I think it was the right move by the Brooklyn Nets. I think Kevin Durant knows that he needs a leader in that locker room to hold guys accountable, especially Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons. So good move. Hated for Steve Nash as an individual, but it's part of the business.
Wendy?
Malika, if you looked at this in a vacuum, a team that is underperforming with star players wants to move out a coach that doesn't have the voice in the locker room to another coach who has proven that he can get to star players and has previous relationships. If you could peel away all the layers, the move makes sense. And that's ostensibly why the Nets are doing it. The problem is the Nets don't have credibility. They don't have credibility because of the way they've handled their stars over the last couple of years. They don't have credibility because of how they've had Steve Nash come out and frankly tell lies over and over to protect the organization. They don't have credibility because of how they've handled Kyrie Irving in the last few days, much less the last couple of years. And so they're trying to overcome a situation that was frankly untenable. And, if you're Ime Udoka, again, in a vacuum, you wouldn't want this job. It's not a good job. The roster is flawed defensively. You're not going to get a training camp. You would never want to take a job like this, even though it has star players on it. But he has got his own credibility issues with what he's been dealing with in Boston. So he takes it. So it's really kind of two parties sort of trying to salvage a situation. And when you look at it that way, it kind of, in a very strange NBA way, makes sense. But it's the layer of lack of credibility and lack of accountability on top of it that makes this whole thing uncomfortable. And now the Nets have no choice to get their way out of this but win. And they have not consistently won at the level this team should in years. And expecting it to be different with Ime Udoka probably is a mistake, but they're going to try.
Okay, so given all of that, Bobby, you've literally made these moves in a front office. You've been in the Brooklyn Nets front office. What should the next steps be here for Brooklyn?
Well, we see here, Steve Nash is already off the board, Malika. And I think it starts with Kyrie. It starts with Kyrie Irving. Malika, how many more chances is this an organization going to give Kyrie Irving? That's my big question here, is enough is enough. And I'm not talking from a trade standpoint. I understand Ime Udoka is the last person that can maybe rein this group in. But if you're the Brooklyn front office, send him home. You do not need Kyrie Irving. And I think when you go from Kyrie, I think you're going Armageddon. And I think it starts with Kevin Durant here. And I get it. I get the Ime Udoka hire. It's the last straw here. But if you're looking from Brooklyn's perspective, wipe the slate clean, start from scratch. Wow. You've proved you can do it. You did it in 2016 and 17 when that front office came in after me. You drafted Karis LeVert, you drafted Jared Allen, you traded for D'Angelo Russell, you found Spencer Dinwiddie, you found Joe Harris. You proved you were able to do it. Start fresh here. And I heard the panel before saying that what Ime did in Boston. I have news for everyone. This Brooklyn roster is not Boston's roster. There is no Jaylen Brown on this roster. There is no Marcus Smart on this roster. There is no Al Horford on this roster. There's not even a Derek White on this roster. Yes, Tatum and Durant are equal, but this is not Boston. And if everyone thinks that he can turn this around, I've got news for you. Everybody's going to be fooled here.
Okay, so some might say that could be drastic. Perk, what do you say?
Well, no, I'm not. I'm with Bobby on this one. I'm not putting any stake or any stock into the Brooklyn Nets. And look, let me piggyback some more on what Bobby was saying. See, the reason that you got to bring Ime Udoka in for Kyrie Irving is because Kevin Durant is never going to go against or say anything to Kyrie Irving, knowing that he needs to check him or hold him accountable at times. So what Kevin Durant needs is now all of a sudden he needs a voice in the locker room to kind of somewhat keep Kyrie Irving in check, that Kyrie Irving is going to respect, that Kyrie Irving is going to listen to on and off the court somewhat, because he don't listen to a lot of people. But here's the thing, I'm with Bobby on this one. I'm not putting any stock into the Brooklyn Nets as far as them going out and winning the championship or even being a threat in the Eastern Conference because they hired Ime Udoka. They don't have the roster. I still believe that they're soft in the middle. I don't think that Ben Simmons is going to improve. I don't care who you bring in. He is who he is at the moment. But I just think this is a great starting point. If you can start going into the following seasons with your foundation with a Kevin Durant and Ime Udoka, now all of a sudden you're setting the culture for the near future.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.